Welcome, you creative writers. I'm Kauffman, and today is another day of Kauffman Writes, episode 216, day 291 of consecutive writing streams. So today we're going to be doing two writing sprints. We're going to be keeping it super casual, super chill. I really want to focus today on getting some work done myself, as I have not been able to make as much progress on Last Scarecrow as I've been wanting to. So I have my stuff pulled up already. I know I've been having fun with Scarecrow and his missing arm and Crow. I'll see if I can get to the Crow moment. We're coming up on a first integral moment for our, so far, a little bit of a prankster, Mr. Crow, and we're going to learn a little bit more about him today. So that's what I got. Let's see, I had this at 30. Let's go, we're gonna go 25 for the first sprint. I think 25 is going to be good. Awesome, and I feel pretty good about that. So I'm going to do 25 minutes for the first sprint. We'll chat a little bit, and then we'll hop into our second sprint. And welcome, Bobby. Okay, what the heck? I'm on a roll first. Yeah. And you're like 2,624 words so far. Congrats, my friend. You're making some incredible progress. That is absolutely amazing. 100% amazing, my friend. That's so cool. And Miss Courtney Stevenson, welcome, welcome, welcome. And LeMay, happy writing, everyone. Hopefully, we're going to be able to get into some good writing stuff today. So we are just getting into it. And yeah, so I'm going to pull up my stuff. We're going to hop right into it. And then we can chat and check in on how writing's going for everyone afterwards. I know yesterday we had such a crazy day, and I saw, Bobby, I saw your message. I know you told me about that. I hope everything is well. It sounds like today's going to be a much better day, my friend. And then I know we had a lot of craziness yesterday with our flash fiction contest, and clearly we had a lot of fun on seeing whether or not Jezebel was going to show up yesterday for the announcements. But it all worked out, my friends. So more to come. All right. Beautiful. So I got my writing pulled up. I got to do a little bit of reviewing on my end, but I think I'm all ready to go. So I got 25 minutes on the clock. We're set for our first, and I am all ready. All right. So 25 minutes, and it's time to write now. All right, writing sprint done. Writing sprint done. I feel like I was able to make some great progress that time. I did good. How'd that writing sprint treat you, my friends? Were you able to hopefully get a little progress in? Hopefully getting some writing in. I'm clearly having a lot of fun. I'd love to hear how your storytelling is going today. Drop it down in the comments. For Scarecrow and Crow, and once again, Courtney, thank you. You had definitely a couple good ideas and suggestions. It always helps me out whenever anyone from the community shares things that they either liked or don't liked about the story about Scarecrow. Because it just gives me more insight, especially since I'm basically writing the story nearly every day or every other day during the weekday streams. So that always helps. So, but clearly I'm having a lot of fun with this. So like we have the scarecrow still hanging on to the crow. They're reaching the end of this cavern tunnel, and you just see this wall of white, bluish white, and blocking the tunnel. There's small holes above it where you can tell that the crow's going to try to fly out. They reach the edge. Scarecrow is basically doesn't let go of the hand, but is dragged right into the snow and then tumbles and collapses and loses everything as he is basically thrown into this freezing, powdery white substance. What could the powdery white substance be but snow? So we're going to be seeing where Scarecrow has been pulled into as he is now regaining his bearings, and we're actually about to have a really cool moment where we're about to have a really cool moment actually in this next section. I don't think that I'll have to rewrite too much because I had to rewrite that section because I originally had him chase the crow to the exit. Yeah. Awesome. So I'm really happy. I'm really happy with how that section came out. ML, you brought up you mentioned something. So yesterday when we were talking about editing, I wanted to mention that I know that lots of people read their writing back, but my brain still does not hear who sent the awkward the sentence sounds. No, and that totally makes sense. And I think um a lot of writers don't always have that sense, even when we're reading it back, of like, okay, well, what things need to be changed or what things need to be pulled. What I've learned, ML, and this is from doing so many editing projects, whenever I edit a story, and especially whenever I edit a manuscript, I usually, and this is more on the line editing side. So, line editing is you're basically going through the manuscript line by line, cutting words that don't make sense or unnecessary words. And normally, 9 times out of 10, when I do a line edit, when the author gets it back, they'll usually be able to improve as a writer because it's just a matter of them being able to all of see more common mistakes. Like a lot of writers will have an over reliance on certain words. I'm the same exact way. And it's not until we either pull back and where somebody else tells us about it or somebody else like reads it, or we're like knowing like, oh, okay, I do that, but that's not something that I thought about before, which is why feedback is so important. I know the editing process is its own thing, which is why alpha and beta readers can also make such a huge difference. I totally relate with that. Like, so I convert Word doc to PDF and then I have PDF read my story back in natural voice. I find more stuff that sounds like shit that way. So it's kind of hearing like sometimes you need to hear it from like a different perspective. That's really interesting. It helps me with editing my stories for flow. You're like, sounds like Courtney gave Scarecrow a hand. Courtney, thank you for giving our Scarecrow a hand. He's clearly been struggling in this first section of the story. Scarecrow has just woken up and has just not had good luck. He has been a very unlucky individual this entire story, but he's very like I wanted him to be very happy-go-lucky, even though it's very much a struggle. I know. Too bad he needs an arm. Oh man, I know. This is funny. He's he was trying to hang on to Crow because he was just hanging out. Oh, that cracks me up. Mary, you're like 10,100 words, new antagonist, but we'll need a backstory eventually for one of my characters. Reading it out loud helps. Find a lot of oops. Yeah, that's cool. It sounds like you're making great progress, by the way, Mary. That's really awesome. Good for you, my friend. That's really, really awesome. New antagonist, but we'll need a backstory eventually. Yeah, and the great thing is you can flesh out and you can develop the characters, but what I find with the development is you'll be able to develop certain characters just from doing the rough draft and just from the writing process. Some characters will come to life more than others. And the great thing is you can always take a break. Or what I like doing is I like trying to get through the rough draft. And then as you saw, then I went through developing all of my characters. So now as I get into the characters on this draft, I already know what their background is and I already have a sense for them. So I don't have to start and stop as much as I'm going through it. Did he give an arm and a leg? Well, he has not quite had to give an arm and a leg. He is yeah. Not yet. Not at this point in the story. He's only been given an arm. Yeah. So I feel pretty good. It's like I think it's hard for me to judge like my actual word count and what I'm accomplishing. I'm like scarecrows. I think yeah, so it's like my words. I mean, I did probably what 150 words, give or take, on that writing sprint. But then I also started on re-editing and reviewing the last section. So the reason that I'm reviewing this section, usually I would just hop straight into the editing the next step, but this is because I just wrote this section. So the first time I write something, I know it's going to need, I like to do like an immediate review of it on my next writing session. But if that had already been written from the first draft, it wouldn't have been as necessary because I would have already gone over it. But I think this next section has already been. I think I do remember writing this section. I'm trying to think of if I like if I like the way that Scarecrow goes about it. I think I'm going to go about this a little different. I'm going to add a foreshadow in this upcoming section, but yeah, I'm going to add another foreshadow because we're about to have our first. I guess we've had a couple action moments. Technically, we've had the lake. The lake was an action moment. So the lake was the first action moment, and that wasn't in the original. That wasn't in the rough draft, and I actually like that now because it adds more like tension to Scarecrow's early journey. And then you could argue that the crow taking his arm is an action moment, but it's less. It's such a small setting off moment. The caves don't really have too much action until this flying moment, and now this flying moment is going to be this kind of like spiraling into this next section of the story. When I get a little stuck, I go back and reread and edit. I become the reader, and it helps unstick me. So it's almost like you pull yourself back, like you're able to pull yourself out of the writing brain for a second, and then be able to view it as a reader. It's actually not a bad strategy. It really isn't. It's almost like we're kind of like challenging ourselves to look at it from a different lens or a different angle. That's actually really good that you guys are able to do that. Sometimes, and it sounds like ML, like you'll need to hear it like different from a different type of from like a different voice to you, and then that allows you to get into that reader mindset, which is interesting. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I feel pretty good. I think I feel pretty good about it. Awesome. So I think that's a good little break. I want to hop back into it. I really want this next section. This next part is we got this a cool action moment coming up. And by the way, if you're enjoying the stream, follow and subscribe. I'm here every day with the Right Now community, 291 consecutive writing streams and counting. Whether you're looking for author interviews, critique shows, our fiction contest, the a writing community, or anything else, we have the daily writing motivation for you. So tap that follow button, tap that subscribe button, and you'll be alerted when we go live. All right, and we're gonna do 25 minutes again. I felt 25 minutes was a good vibe last time. I was pretty happy with it. So I'm gonna do 25 minutes on the clock. Whether you're brainstorming, writing, or editing, feel free to join along, or you can just read along and see what happens to Scarecrow and the Crow. All right, so I got 25 minutes on the clock, and it's time to write now. I think we need more epic. Right. Making some great progress. So I felt pretty good about that. I'm clearly in this this crazy snow environment. I was like, and I'm at this turning point for the scarecrow. So we finally get this moment where Scarecrow he's realized he's in this like white, basically snowstorm. He doesn't really know what snow is right now. He's basically in the middle of a snowstorm. And he's unburied himself, he found his arm. He found his missing arm, finally just laying there, probably from the crash. But he doesn't know how to put it back together. So he just sticks the detached arm in his coat pocket, and as he's walking towards the cave, he hears the crow in the distance cawing like normal, but then the cawing starts intensifying and screeching like it's a cry for help. And the scarecrow is walking towards the cave as like this cawing is intensifying, and he's facing his first true moral dilemma. Very first true moral dilemma of like, why should he why should he go help the only creature who's been very mean to him since awakening. So he's facing this moral dilemma right now. I know the original draft. I don't think I made this transition, this his turning moment as clear. But in the original draft, the crow wasn't as antagonistic. The crow basically just stole his hat. So in this draft, the crow is much more of a presence in this first part. So he has definitely the crow definitely has way more presence in the second draft, which I really love. It sets up the crow as much more of a character. Ah, awesome. And then the scarecrow is dealing with this moral dilemma. Mary, like I may have missed it, but he has most of his personal memory. He does not. He does not. I think in the original draft, I had him referencing memories of the creators. What I'm doing this time around is he's going to remember more in bits and pieces of the creators. In the cave, he came across a skeleton, and when he touched the skeleton, he had like a few like audio memories kind of flashing back to him. I'm going to make it more apparent instead of that he started off as kind of a blank slate in the very beginning. And this first third, until we get to him really understanding the mission in once we hit the turning point in Act Two, I think I really want to litter his memories coming back to him in the first third of the story. So right now, all he has is like bits and pieces of like audio. He has like bits and pieces of like dialogue and things people have said to him, but nothing really concrete. Originally, he didn't really know what anything was called, but after he kind of touched the skeleton, he like words started returning to him, and he started remembering that he called them the creators, and started remembering more of the shelters. So it's more has come back to him, and I've really wanted to have very distinct moments where more memories and more stuff floods back to him. Raph, hey, what's up, man? So Harold the Scarecrow for me was the scariest story and scariest stories to tell in the dark when I was a kid. Ever since then, Scarecrows creep me out. I remember watching that movie. I think that was a fun movie to check out. It was like a fun horror one a while back. Whenever I think of scarecrows, the scarecrow that has always stood out to me in pop culture, and this is obviously much older, but was Scarecrow from Wizard of Oz. And one of my goals with this story, and one of the goals when I started The Last Scarecrow, was I wanted to see if I could create a more iconic protagonist as a scarecrow. Like I wanted to create a more protagonistic character that could be more relatable, more that people could or readers could come to appreciate or enjoy for whatever his faults, strengths, and weaknesses. And I really like how Scarecrow has really come along throughout the development process. So I'm very, very, very happy about it. Scarecrow is a very happy-go-lucky character who's probably dealing with who inherently within is probably running from one of the biggest traumas in the history of this universe. So, but he is very happy-go-lucky. So, and I think the balance is actually very works very, very well for his overall character journey. So, that's my goal. Hopefully write a really fun Scarecrow character. Rough. You're like, I enjoy scary stories this time of year, but I don't know how to craft a scary story. I think it's challenging because fear, like comedy, is subjective. Yeah, that's a really good point. And Ralph, there's actually a video on my on the YouTube channel, on the Right Now YouTube channel. I'd have to see where it's at. It's probably one of the, it might be under the writing video playlist, but there's a video that I made on how to craft tips to craft a horror story. You should definitely go check it out after the stream. I think I listed like 8 to 10 tips, and they're just like easy tips on writing a horror book or a screenplay. Because I definitely love horror. I've never actually, I haven't delved into writing a full-on horror book, but I've consumed so much horror type material throughout my life. So I have a good understanding of why horror elements work the way they do, why jump scares work the way they do. And I'd probably love to write some type of horror based story in the future. Absolutely. So yeah, I would recommend check out that video, and then know that next weekend, obviously our fiction contest. We're gonna have some obviously our creepy thriller and some horror stories during the contest next weekend. So I definitely recommend make sure you drop by next Friday and Saturday will be the fiction contest, and then anyone in the live stream will get to vote on the winners. So it'll be a really cool experience. I feel like you should have pushed that video when you I know. It was a missed opportunity. It was definitely a missed opportunity on my part. I realized that much I like I don't know why I didn't like tie 2 and 2 together. That was on me. I agree. I definitely agree with you, Courtney. It was a missed opportunity. I should have done a little bit more prep a couple weeks ago and offered more insight on writing a horror story. It's a learning experience. It's a learning opportunity on my part as a creator. What we will do, so assuming the contest goes well, we'll see what the engagement and the turnout is like next weekend. But I mean, based on how everyone has felt about it so far, it sounds like everyone's really been enjoying it. But based on how it goes, we may or may not plan more contests in the future. If we do similar contests, well, they'll probably delve into different genres based on seasonal. So it'll be based on like seasonal. So we'll probably next year we're gonna see how this one goes. With any like live events, any live streams, I always have to test or see based on I have to analyze based on like engagement, how people comment on it, how people respond to it. Now the Discord adds another layer of engagement. So I can see like, okay, how people respond to it. And then in terms of the event itself, I have all the data on the back end to see, did people actually watch it? Did people show up to watch it? Did we advertise it correctly? How long did people watch it for? And there's all these metrics that I take into account for then doing future events, because events take up a lot of time and I absolutely love doing them. And it's great doing this with Penelope. It's like such a cool idea. I want to make sure that events that we do are time effective and that we're investing in something that people are actually going to get value out of. Exactly. Exactly. Like, assuming that we end up doing this again next year, which I don't see why we wouldn't, because it's been a lot of fun this year and we've had some really good turnout. And then next year, like the competition will be even twice as heated because we'll probably be well into the thousands with the YouTube channel would be my guess. I'm sure we'll be well over 1,000 by that point. But yeah, it'll just make the quality and the prep for it easier next year. Completely agreed. So awesome. So I with where we're at, I let's see. By the way, now's probably a great time to call out. If you haven't joined the Right Now Discord, now's the time. The Right Now Discord is the place to be. We have such a cool writing community in there. Clearly, if you're enjoying the streams, if you need daily writing motivation, it's a very, very active Discord community. Whether you want to talk about books, just talk with other writers, get feedback on your work, or any other writing miscellaneous stuff. It's been up for a couple weeks now, and it's been pretty cool to see it growing. We will continue to add more elements week by week based on requests and based on what are things that writers want, and how can I give you guys more ways to be able to engage with the writing experience regardless of what mindset you're coming from. So if you haven't already, here's the invite link to the Discord. Dropped it down in the comments. It's also down in the YouTube description. Highly recommend. And if you know any of your writers who would actually like to be a part of the Discord, there's actually open invites. So you actually have the capability to invite other writers to the Discord yourself by sending invite links. So if you know a writer who you're like, hey, this would be a great community, invite them. Once again, the more writers that we bring to the community, the more that we get different types of feedback, we get different perspectives, we get even greater conversations. And like I said, we'll be launching more interactive ways to engage in the Discord in the weeks to come. So it's super cool. I've been learning so much about the Discord experience, and I love how it's grown so far. So definitely let's help grow that Discord, and it will be the writing place to be. So super exciting about that. And as we look towards creative writing on the morrow, so I'll be back for another live editing session. I want to say tomorrow is I think we're 2 p.m. Pacific. I want to say it's 2 p.m. Pacific, I believe. Let's see, Friday. Yeah. So tomorrow I'll be back for another writing session, 2 p.m. Pacific, 2, 3, 4, 5 p.m. Eastern. I'll get to the next crazy moment with Crow. Is Scarecrow going to help him out? And why? And I've also decided, I already know what foreshadowing element I'm going to be including. So for those of you who know what happens later in the story, who's been with me for a while, you might be able to pick up on the foreshadow element, because we're going to introduce a very brief glimpse of a character that shows up much later in the story. So definitely come join tomorrow. And for those of you who need feedback on your story, this Saturday is the next episode of the Story and Critique Show, episode 31. If you want to submit your story for feedback, a story excerpt, the link is down in the YouTube description down below. Definitely recommend. And once again, this is going to be the last Story and Critique Show until December. So highly recommend. I'm only going to be able to get through so many of them. So make sure that you submit if you haven't already, because November, we're going to be slammed with our other writing events and the podcast, and I'm needing to make progress on Scarecrow. So definitely submit, and Saturday's critique show will be a blast. And if you enjoyed the stream, tap that like button. Help us show the algorithms that writing streams are cool. All right, my friends, it has been a pleasure. You're like, ML, you need to look into the writer bot. Yeah, the writer bot has about like 20 different options. You just have to press the backslash on it and kind of look at the different options. I'd recommend playing around with it. When I pulled out the writer bot, I like tried different options and then deleted them. Just deleted my comments just to see what options there were. But the writer bot gives really great capabilities for you to be able to do writing sprints with others, for you to be able to track word counts. I think it can track your progress, your daily progress, because it's saved on the server. Like if you put word counts, there's a way to track it. There's a profile system. So definitely look into it, play around with it. And if you learn things, share it with the rest of us, because it's something that I'm trying out to see if writers from the community get value out of it. Yep. 2 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow. Absolutely. 2 p.m. Pacific. Thank you, my friend. All right, my friends. That brings us to the end of the stream. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kauffman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers.